Well, you also mentioned the Super Bowl, and I know it's great to have a nice new modern facility for the Vikings and others to play in, but hosting a Super Bowl in the city of Minneapolis is a big impact. What's the process that you go through to make the pitch to the NFL? When do you logically see the Twin Cities perhaps hosting a Super Bowl? And most importantly, what is the economic impact of hosting a Super Bowl in the Twin Cities?
Well, the Super Bowl is it's the most impactful event in the world on an annual basis, both in terms of television. It's the most watched production every year, but it's also a tremendous opportunity to generate revenue and economic impact for a community. You know, there are various studies that are done, and depending on the market, Dallas had a study that showed an almost $300 million economic impact, because Super Bowl used to be one Sunday afternoon, then it became a weekend, then it became a 4-day deal, and now it's a week-long deal where we'll get 73,000 in the stadium, but there'll be just as many as that, additional 75,000 that'll be here for the event and to work the event, and it's become such a huge event to the economy. It could be, anywhere from, to be conservative, $150 million up to $300 million, depending on. We've seen studies in New Orleans and Tampa and elsewhere that shows there's a range. But the good news is putting Minnesota and Minneapolis on the map. All the people that come here and generate revenue and stay at the hotels, they eat at the restaurants, shop in the stores, and buy the gas, go to the mall, go to all the stuff that is secondary spending that has a real boost on the economy. But it's also just the prestige of this new great stadium and this vision for the future home of the Vikings, and that being identified with this community and shown worldwide for that event is really a significant, sort of intangible. You can't put a price tag on that and the boost that it provides to the city and the community.
What would be the earliest Super Bowl date you might think that the Twin Cities would host a Super Bowl?
Well, we've thrown our hat in the ring, if you will, with filling out an application. So we've applied for the Super Bowl in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and they now require teams to fill out a window in case you don't get the year you want it. But we're pushing for 2018. There'll be an owners meeting at the NFL owners meeting this fall in October, where one of our owners, Mark Wilf, our president and owner, will go before the other owners and make the case for Minneapolis, for Minnesota, hosting a Super Bowl, for why we'll be great hosts, why we deserve it. Frankly, our public put in $500 million, and part of the return on that investment needs to be this event. And we've been, trying to leverage that, frankly, with the NFL to say, look, this is a community that stepped up, and much like Indianapolis and Dallas and Detroit, communities who have stepped up and invested in new stadiums have been communities who've also had the opportunity to host a Super Bowl. So we're on track, we believe, for that window of 2018 through 2020, pushing hard for 2018, have an application in. We should know by late fall if we're a finalist for 2018, in which case we'll be full court press. We've already got a local organizing committee working with Meet Minneapolis, which is the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Minneapolis, as the organizing committee. And we've been meeting on a fairly regular basis and lining up support and starting to answer the questions and fill out the Super Bowl specs. But it's a tremendous opportunity. We're confident we'll get a Super Bowl. We're hopeful that it'll be 2018, but if it's not 2018, it'll be shortly thereafter.
When the design was considered for the new stadium, you and the others spent a lot of time looking at other NFL stadiums. Was the desire to take the best features of the many stadiums you saw, or was it to determine how the new Viking stadium could do things even better?
Well, a little of both. Because this took a long time, 10, 12 years, we have had the opportunity to visit every stadium in the NFL and every new stadium, in some cases baseball parks as well. So, learning what we liked, some good things and some not so good things that we would avoid. So we had some time to look, and we think we've plucked some of the best ideas from some of the great stadiums that are there. We love it's hard to not say that the Cowboy Stadium is not the most amazing stadium in the world, certainly the most amazing stadium in this country and the one that we've ever been to. But Seattle Seahawks, I think it's CenturyLink Field now, is an incredible facility. Now it's an open-air stadium, but it's a very intimate fan experience, and it's a fairly modest price tag. And we learned a lot from Seattle. We learned a lot from Pittsburgh. We learned a lot from Dallas. We learned a ton from Indianapolis. And so happens that the architect that we selected, HKS Inc. out of Dallas, did both the Colts Stadium and the Cowboy Stadium, two of the great stadiums in the NFL, two also completely different stadiums that fit those communities. You could not put the Cowboy Stadium in Indianapolis or Minneapolis for that matter. But we do like the Colts Stadium. We learned some things there that Lucas Oil Field that we stole from there, so to speak. So, but we also challenged our architect to come up with a design that fits our community, and we have very progressive architecture in Minnesota and very progressive populace that wants environmentally conscious stadium, and we also want a stadium that's a multi-purpose stadium that can be home to many different events. And so we did challenge our architect, and we did come up with something which is unique. We think it's iconic. We have this design that includes 60% of the roof will be comprised of this ETFE product. It's a plastic type space industry product that's very durable, has some diffusion of the UV rays come through. And then on the end, we spent long and hard debate with the Stadium Authority about whether or not we should have a retractable roof. In the end, we agreed upon for the best case for this market and this climate would be to have operable walls. And so we have these walls that are 150 feet by about 85 or 90 feet tall that are going to open up, and then we'll keep them open as long as possible. And the point is to have this unique, iconic design that gives us this indoor-outdoor experience in Minnesota that will give the fans that feeling of all seasons, where we can, with the glass and the roof, that they have that great fan experience. So it's going to be the only one like it. It's going to be the best stadium in the NFL, and we're very excited about bringing it home by 2016 for the fans.
Well, you know, Lester, the diehard fans always wax poetically about the times outdoors in Met Stadium, but the reality is nobody really wants to go home and soak their feet in hot water for 3 hours to get the feeling back in them again. So I think they're pretty happy that the dome's going to be enclosed still.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned, the ETFE roof, and in the artist renderings of the new stadium, some of the fans worried that on sunny days in the stadium, the main steel support beam and the other roof supports will create shadows in the field. Can you help alleviate their concerns?
Yeah, I think there will be some shadows, some modest shadows. It's not going to be the sharp shadows that you see, for example, on Lucas Oil Field. Lucas Oil Field has retractable roof with the steel beams that were very prominent on the field, which, impacts not only the television viewing of the game, but more importantly, the game experience for the players. So we raised that same concern and the same issue as we were evaluating this product, this ETFA product, to make sure that there's minimal shadowing, and there are going to be sort of veins and sills and frames that you'll be able to see modestly, but because this ETFE is going to have this fritting process, which is basically diffuses, it's not going to be direct sunlight through the roof. 60% of the roof is going to be made up with this ETFE product. It'll be fritted and diffused, and there's lots of examples, not many in the U.S., but in Europe and in New Zealand. There's soccer stadiums and the Bird's Nest in China was made out of this product. So there's ability to prevent that from happening and to limit the shadowing and to diffuse the light that comes through, so our fans don't have to wear their sunglasses either while the game is going on at noon Central on Sunday.
Well, but people love the idea of the sunshine hitting the field, and I'm curious, you mentioned the noon Central time, which is a typical start time for a Viking game, unless we're in prime time. How much of the field would you expect to be in a basic sunlight during a game that starts at noon Central?
Well, they've done sun studies, they've done wind studies, because the wind will come through the pivoting doors, but there'll be louvers on the east end of the stadium so the wind can go through and circulate. But the sun studies that they've done has shown for a noon game on Sunday, much of the field will be in direct sunlight, again, with that ETFE, with that diffused, with that fritting that will diffuse the light, but much of it will be, in the sun for much of the game. But as the seasons change and the position of the sun changes, so does the impact on the field as we get later in the season and get later in the day. There'll be less of direct sun over the field. But again, we've gone through studies, and the engineers have worked through it and are convinced that this is going to be a great experience and that it's going to be manageable and that any shadowing will be minimal, but the experience of the indoor-outdoor setting will be what's paramount in the project.
I think the exciting thing for fans is whether you look at the stadium from the outside or it's televised inside, it's nice to know that when somebody turns that on TV, you're going to know you're in Minnesota. It's unique, it's different, and I think that's fun for the people. And you mentioned the changing of the seasons. Is there some type of element with a new roof that will help keep snow from accumulating?
Yeah, well, when the architect at the unveiling on May 17th, we unveiled the design at the Guthrie Theater, which was with a full house and a community, sort of a community unveiling. The architect stood up and said, "Job one, get the snow off the roof." And one of the things that we did, of course, was pay very close attention to the angle of the roof and the slope of the roof, which will help melt the snow off the roof. And there will be the angular roof will deliver that snow off the roof, and there's a catchment basin that will catch the snow, so it's not snow or ice falling down on the sidewalk. It's falling into a little basin, which then will be broken up, and then it'll melt, it'll drain. So they're very, very, again, close attention paid to the snow, with the slope of the roof, with getting it off the roof. And then the other thing about the roof is the ability to clean it. And this product, it's been around for many years. It's self-cleaning in the sense that with moisture, it cleans the product, or cleans the roof. And so snow and rain and dew and mist and other moisture will help keep it clean, and there'll be the ability with the heating system to warm the roof up to get the snow off. But they spent a lot of time, again, engineers, and they designed it to fit this climate and our weather.
Great. And the new stadium has 7,500 club seats. As our fans start to consider what types of seating that they're going to purchase in the new stadium, can you tell us the basic difference between regular seating and club seating?
Well, club seating is typically a premium seat for a small business owner, for example, that may not want to buy a suite, but they might want to have a premium experience. And a club there'll be different clubs with different options, and some clubs you'll be able to pay one ticket price, and you'll be able to get whatever food is laid out in the buffet, game day food, tailgate food, or higher end food. We're very excited about the quality of food that Aramark is going to bring. They're the new food vendor. They do half a dozen stadiums in the NFL. They do a great job, and we're excited about the quality and the variety of foods, as well as the local options. But club is typically a premium. When a fan wants a more premium experience, we're going to have clubs, for example, behind the bench, where if you are interested in this type of experience, you can get a club seat where you can, before the game, at halftime, and after the game, you can be right on the field. You'll be on the same turf that the players are on at the same level. Now, once the game starts, you'll be able to go up into the stands and sit in your seat. But again, pregame, halftime, postgame, you'll be able to go into the club area and get close to the players, watch the action and the warm-ups and that type of thing. So there'll be a variety of different game day seating experiences, including those for premium customers, suite holders, as well as regular general admission fans. And we want to make the experience great for all of them. So there's going to be a lot more options for seating. There'll be a lot more sideline seats, and in the Metrodome there are too many end zone seats in both lower and upper bowls, but we moved a ton of those seats out of the end zone and onto the sidelines because that's where fans like to watch games. Now, there's certainly a lot of fans who like the end zone angle. Our owners are examples of that. They like to watch plays develop, etc., from that angle. But lots of options for club seats, for premium seating as well as for tickets and more sideline seats, etc.
Well, what's great is it really gives the fans more and more reason to continue coming to the stadium and why they want to go out there. You know, with all the new features that are available with the light rail, the expanded parking facilities, even the skyway systems, do you expect to return to tailgating? And if so, what's that going to look like for the fans?
Yeah, the tailgating is a huge game day tradition for a great number of our fans, and it means different things to different people. There's certainly a strong segment of our fans that love to be in a parking lot with their car, or their van, or whatever vehicle, with their grill, and hanging out with their fellow Viking fans that do it every Sunday, game in and game out. That is important to them, and we're trying to work with the city of Minneapolis to expand the tailgate zone, because there's only certain areas where you can actually tailgate, and you have to meet certain requirements in terms of trash and restrooms and security and things like that. So we're working to try to make sure that we have that tradition and the ability to continue in, again, a very urban setting. There's going to be other opportunities for pregame, and NFL is a sport, as you know, Tom, that is different than others in that it's a once-a-week deal. It's lots of build-up and hype leading up to the game, and then once you get to game day, it's a day-long experience. Our fans, it's Sunday game day, and the NFL is a day-long deal, and whether you're at home tailgating on your couch or in your driveway, or whether you have a tailgate spot that's in sight of the new stadium, or there's going to be other areas. I mentioned that the two-block park, the green space that's going to be right adjacent to the stadium. There's also going to be a plaza area that's going to be far expanded to what we have now, where fans can gather and have the ability to hang out with their fellow fans, and there may be even some kiosks or some grills or things like that. We're exploring various ideas that might veer a little bit away from the traditional tailgate, where some fans feel like, I got to see the stadium, because our fans have this ability to, right now, to time it, where they can put down their beverage at the exact moment, and they're sitting in their seat as the ball is being kicked off. And that's what tailgating means to a lot of people. But again, there's going to be a lot of different options to make sure that tradition continues.
I know the scheduled seating capacity for the new stadium is 65,000 for Viking games, and I know that can expand up to 73,000 for special events like the Super Bowl, but several of our fans live out of state, and so they can't purchase season tickets. Is there a certain number that there will be that cuts off the season tickets to where individual game tickets will be available to our folks who want to come to 2 or 3 games a year?
Season ticket base right now is about 52,000. I'm not sure we've set a cutoff number, but there will be single game tickets. There's going to be a family section if you don't want alcohol served in your area. There'll be an affordable ticket section, as they have in Seattle, and as we're working with the stadium authority to designate. I don't know the exact number, because I don't know that it's been determined, but there'll be tickets available that aren't part of the season ticket owner package. You should be able to get to a game if you want to get to a game, and that's been our plan, and make it more accessible. Again, the more seating options, the affordable ticket section, the family section. So it will be expandable to 73,000, but that 73,000 will be for Super Bowl and maybe other major events like an NCAA Final Four basketball tournament or some other major event that would draw that type of crowd. But for our games, it'll be 65,000, and we'll get more detail. But right now we have about 52,000 season ticket owners, so we'll have 13,000 if that's the numbers that stay consistent as to where we are today. But more on that as it evolves, Tom.
No, that's actually helpful, because, again, people just want to know, hey, if I'm coming from Alaska or Hawaii where we have fans that are there, I know I can get tickets on game day. Maybe a little sparse, but I can still get them, and that's the important part of the answer. Lester, I wanted to close out with one last question to you that's not related to the stadium, but it's really more about the other activities that you're responsible for. And one of the things that you help head up is the Vikings Charitable Giving campaigns. Can you tell me just a little bit about what you do in that role?
Yeah, in my role as Vice President of Public Affairs and Stadium Development, I oversee all of the Vikings public relations, communications, and community and charitable programs. And one of the great parts about being involved in the NFL and being involved with the Vikings, for me, is the ability to participate in community programs, to give back, and to see the difference that our players make on children and families and folks going through tough times. We do a lot on a year-round basis. A lot of it doesn't get a lot of attention, but there's a lot of our players. We have a great locker room. We have a great coach on the field, but off the field, he's also a leader of his men in the locker room, and there's an expectation that what it means to be a Minnesota Viking, and that means to do a good job on the field, to be tough, disciplined football player, but also to find an opportunity to give back. And we have, for the last several years in a row, we've had 100% participation. All 53 players on our roster participate every year in community programs. It's something we're very proud of. It comes down from ownership, who the Will family, a very strong family tradition of community service. So there's a lot of things we do, and we partner. We have a children's fund, the Vikings Children's Fund, that raises money for children and family-related causes. We raise about $400,000 or $500,000 a year, which for a modest Midwest market is pretty decent. It's cash that goes directly to families and children in need, and half of it goes to the University of Minnesota Department of Pediatrics, to kids who are going through tough times in the Children's Hospital. But we do a great job, and to see the impact. We have a very, very special player on our team. A lot of them do a lot of great things, but Adrian Peterson is not only the best football player in the NFL, when he's done, he'll be one of the greatest to ever play the game. He is also a genuinely considerate, caring person that spends time with people in the community and signs autographs and goes to schools and to various organizations that individuals are facing a very tough time, and spends time with people away from the cameras, away from the lights, and lets people know that he cares about them and that they're special, and gives all he can to that side of this organization. So again, it's something that's hugely important to the organization, but it's also something that we take pride in, and that we are proud to have an impact in the community. It's something that will continue. It's a great tradition of the Vikings that our veteran players teach to the young guys when they come in. All these rookies that we have on the roster this year, they've already been out in the community. They've been kind of guided by our veterans to let them know what the expectation is, what it means to be a Viking, what it means to give back and be a part of this community.
Well, it matters, and every time they go out and help build a new playground at a school, it gives all of us pride in Minneapolis. So we wish you luck and continued success in those efforts.
Very good, Tom. I appreciate the time and the chance to give your folks an update, and stay in touch and stay tuned as we get this great stadium built, and we have a very talented roster. We're going to have a very exciting season this year, so this is what it's all about. It's game week, and we're very excited about it here at the Vikings.
Well, thanks for helping us, Lester, keep the Vikings in Minnesota and save us a seat in the new stadium.
Will do, Tom. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.